guys, like I said, about to do this ITX and mini ITX build. And before we get into it, we're just gonna do the unboxing part right now. You ready?
Yes.
And then after the unboxing, we can get to building. Finally, huh? Finally.
Yes.
I know.
Finally.
I know.
I only see that one piece.
Okay. So we're gonna start with the case. So for the case, I chose the TherMALTAKE Core V1. It's actually a pretty good ITX case. Has great reviews on it. Perfect form factor size. Oh boy, unboxing's always the fun part. Trying to get this stuff out. Thank you, Mr. B.
Welcome.
Here we go.
So Effie.
Here, help me. I need you to hold that box and pull down, pull down. Put your hands right here. Okay? Now push down as I pull up. Oh, this ain't gonna work too great. I'm gonna grab it like this. Okay, push. There you go. All right. Got that out of the way.
Don't get it.
Here's the phone. The lovely unboxing.
Yeah.
So the V1,
So
it's actually a pretty good size ITX case. I was looking at the Coolmaster H100, but in order to fit a decent video card or a decent GPU in there, I would have had to went with either a mini GPU, like a Zotac mini size, or with this case, it's up to, I think, 11 and a quarter inches, or close to 12 inches. And this, the Radeon RX 590 is 10 and a quarter inches long. So it's just going to be enough room with about an inch to spare. It's probably going to come past right here. The video card is going to sit right here, vertically. And it's probably going to stick out probably this much. All right, next, let's we're going to get the motherboard.
So let's get building.
Let's get building. Well, we're still doing an unboxing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still showing off the stuff. So for the motherboard, we took chose the GIGABYTE AORUS B450 platform Pro Wi-Fi with the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi built in. It's actually a pretty good motherboard for the price. Right now, you can get it at Micro Center with if you pair it with a AMD Ryzen core processor, whichever. There's certain models, and you get $30 off the board, which makes it a pretty good deal. So, and of course, it's a mini ITX form factor case itself, motherboard. As you can see, it's pretty much one of those fit in the palm of your hand type. Actually, put this on top. Move this out the way. All right. Oh, I know the screws, buddy. I know. We need more room to build, huh? Can you catch it for me? See it? All right. So, as you can see, it's very small ITX format. 2 DIMM slots, 24-pin connector. You have a 8-pin CPU power connector up here. You have 2 channel audio. You have your Wi-Fi, Ethernet, USB 3. 2 USB 3.1 right here, another 3.1 here, HDMI, a DVI port, and you have USB 2.1. And of course it has your power connectors, reset button. It has a CPU fan switch, PWM switch, and it's going to have a chassis switch on board also. And then here, it's going to, it comes with a 120, I think, nope, excuse me. The front fan is 200 millimeters, sucking in air. It doesn't come with the back fans, which are 80 millimeter. So we just got these
Spinners.
spinners. These are spinners? You gonna put this on your
exhaust.
car just to get more air out of the case. As you can tell, it does come with an optional side panel that is plastic, not plastic, but acrylic side. But since the video card is going to be on this side, actually you want to get more airflow, so it's pretty much a mesh design in the front and just mesh on both sides. And where the video card is going to sit, you don't want to obstruct, since it's going to be vertical, you don't want to obstruct any of the airflow. So the mesh design on this type of panel is actually a good way to go to get better airflow, so your video card doesn't overheat or get any high temperatures. So as you know, the bigger the case, the more air you need and the more airflow you need through it with your components. But with the smaller form factor of the ITX, many ITX cases, there's less air that you have to push through in a smaller package. So therefore, you really don't need that many fans. We could have got away with not putting the 80 millimeters in the back and just having the front 200 push all the air out the sides and in the back. But just want to get enough because we're going to have the CPU. We're going to actually use the stock cooler that comes with the AMD processor, which we're going to get to right now and unbox that. So for the CPU, went with the AMD Ryzen 2700X 8-core 16-thread processor. Now this is AMD Ryzen Generation 2, which the prices have come down a lot, and they're still a good processor for the money. And unlike Intel, they come with their own stock cooler, CPU cooler and heatsink. This is the Wraith Prism. I think it's a RGB model. And while I was researching this case, I could have actually put a 120 millimeter fan with a radiator and AIO all-in-one cooling on the front and had it water cooled. But this stock air cooler actually outperforms a lot of the single 120 millimeter AIOs. So this is actually a really good cooler that comes with it. So as you can see, it has two pipes that run through it coming up to the top of the heatsink, and it has pre-applied thermal paste on it. Most of the time you can get away with that, but what we're going to do is we're going to take some alcohol, we're going to rub that off, and we're going to be applying some Arctic Silver 5 to this run. Normally I would use the MX4 carbon-based thermal paste, but I think for this build I'm going to go with the Arctic 5 just to get a few degrees cooler. The Arctic Silver 5, pretty good compound stuff. Now with this you have to be careful, of course, that you do not put it in contact with anything on the motherboard while you're applying it to the CPU, because it does have pieces of silver in it which are conductive, and that gets on the motherboard and it can actually short it out. You really don't have to worry with the carbon-based stuff, which is still some good. This is some good thermal paste. I have this in my 9900K build. Really good thermal paste. So, you know, word of caution with the Arctic Silver 5, you got to be careful. You know, first of all, if you get it on you, if you get it on your fingers while you're applying stuff like that, make sure you get it off really nice with some soap and water before you start handling any other electronics, so you don't want to transfer that silver shards everywhere. So that's what we're going to be using with the thermal paste on there, is the Arctic Silver 5, and we're going to be using the stock cooler instead of going with a third party, an aftermarket cooler or an AIO. So it's a pretty good deal.
And we got everything from Micro Center.
And just to let y'all know, Micro Center is not paying us anything to do this build, and nobody, AMD, GIGABYTE, whatever company that we're using, we're not getting paid to do this build. So just to let y'all know, this is not a sponsored paid build. Okay, so that is the CPU that we are going with. We're going to be doing a Ryzen build with the 2700X, and it's pretty darn good CPU for the Ryzen 2700X CPU, 8-core 16-thread processor, Generation 2 Ryzen that we're going to be using. And for our video card, went with the Radeon RX 590, 8 gigabytes of DDR5 memory. It's a pretty good deal on these Radeon video cards. Probably would have cost an extra $150 to if would have went with a, let's say, an RTX 2060, and that's not the super model. Or an extra $200 to go with the RTX 2060, the super model. This is a pretty good mid-range video card for gaming. You can pretty much play the AAA titles, most of the AAA titles on high settings, and some maybe ultra. So it's actually a pretty nice card. As you can see, it's pretty large. Not as big as the 2080 Ti's, of course, but still fairly pretty big card. So for this case, as you can tell, you know, you got to be very careful with the cards you put in, but this case can handle it. It's gonna fit properly. So I got that. Got a nice back plate on it. There we go. Just gonna set that right there. Of course, I got my anti-static band that I'm gonna be using while I'm building. Make sure I'm not touching any of the components. So that's the video card right there. It's a NITRO Plus series from SAPPHIRE. The RX 590. And for the boot drive, we're just going to be using the Inland Premium SSD M.2 2280 hard drive. Well, not hard drive, SSD drive, solid state. Just for the boot for Windows. But for storage, we're going to be using a SATA 3 Samsung 860 EVO 500 gigabyte for the storage to put the files and everything on, which is a pretty good drive, a decent price. Like I said, you can get them at Micro Center with some bundles. You can save $10-15 on these drives, and they're pretty nice. Their form factor, you know, 2.5 inch, easy to install, especially in smaller cases. So that is the storage that we're going with. And for memory, we got 2 sticks of 8 gigabyte, the DDR4 3200 speed, and it's G.SKILL Flare X, and the Flare X is actually designed to run with the AMD Ryzen platform. So this memory is optimized for AMD Ryzen platforms, which we all know the AMD processors generally love fast memory. So memory that's optimized for the platform is good, because AMD can be kind of picky and choosy on the memory. Intel, you can throw pretty much anything at it, it'll eat it up. But AMD loves the fast memory. So 3200, this platform runs 2933, but with a XMP 2.0 profile, which this motherboard can handle. If you put on the XMP 2.0 profile, you can bump it up to 3200 megahertz on this memory. So that is the memory we're going to be using, and that pretty much brings me to the conclusion. And of course, I'm using an old power supply that I pulled from another computer, just a POWERSPEC 650 watt 80 plus gold model, which is pretty good. So 80 plus gold is plenty enough power for the video card and the CPU and to run everything else, and that's what we're going to be going with. This case actually takes a full ATX size power supply, so you don't have to buy mini ITX power supply. You can actually just, if you have one, which I happen to have one laying around, full ATX power supply, you can just use that in these cases. So thumbs up, huh?
Really double thumbs up.
I knew. All right, so stay tuned, guys. We're actually going to get to building, so check back. Alright, so pretty much got everything installed hardware wise. All that's left is to hook up the 24-pin spaghetti monster, rainbow color, yeah. Hook up the power, switch, reset switch, hard drive light, front audio panel, and then slap the front panel back on at least, do some cable management, and that's gonna be about it. And then plug it up and fire it up. And so once we get everything hooked up with the power and get some of this cable management done, I'll turn it back on and show the final product. Okay, well, after checking it out and wasn't booting the first time, but figured out that it was some bad PCI Express cable, and I think the other cable was a SATA cable that was bad and it wasn't allowing the power supply to boot up at all. So changed those out, and this is what we have. It's it booted up, posted right into the BIOS, and not too bad. It's actually I don't have good lighting in here, so can't really tell the cables management, but the side and tops are off, and that's the insides. But the cable management is pretty good. It's pretty decent. But yeah, so I'm gonna get in there and make sure everything is set, memory's set, and frequency's right, and then load Windows, and we'll go from there. So good job, Mr. B.
So
Yeah.
it's my computer.
Right.
This is bed.
Uh-huh.
And like these
So-
are my work.
Right.
computers.
Okay, so this is your first computer build.
Yes.
What do you have to say for yourself? What you think? You did a good job?
I did a good job on this, and this is my life work. So it has speakers
Uh-huh.
and volume and does that, and power for it to do it.
All right, so we'll post some more videos of it with the panels on and everything, and we'll get to it so we can get it running right. All right, say bye, Mr. B.
Bye. Hope you subscribe.
And Benaiah's testing out his PC. All right, keep your eyes on the road.
I know way more about Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo Drift. You played? You trying to drift now?
Yes.
If you like what you just saw, consider hitting that subscribe button for more great content.